There's a clay pot in a fishing village on the coast of Nagasaki that has not been washed in 43 years. Its interior is the color of aged cedar. And when the air is still, it smells of wood smoke and the ghost of fermented miso. Tonight, for the first time in a decade, a hand reaches toward it. The pot sits on a cold hearth in a kitchen where dust motes dance in candlelight. A single flame trembles in a glass lantern, casting long shadows across the worn floorboards. The hand that reaches for the pot is an old one, the skin mapped with fine lines and calluses, the nails yellowed and thick from a lifetime of work. The fingers do not grasp the handle. They trace the rim, following the curve where generations of wooden ladles have worn a shallow groove. The pot knows this touch. It has felt it before, many times, in many different hands. The hand of a grandmother who hummed while she stirred. The hand of a young mother who wept into the broth on the night her husband sailed away and did not return. The hand of a child who pressed her palm against the warm clay to learn the temperature by feel. The pot remembers them all, not as separate memories, but as a single accumulated warmth, like the heat of a dying fire that still holds against the morning cold. The old hand pauses. The finger rests in the groove, and the pot waits. There is a question in the stillness. Will anyone ever light the fire again? This is the first moment the pot asks you a question, and if you felt the weight of it, you belong here. Subscribe so you do not miss the next time a silent object speaks, the next time a hand reaches toward a hearth that has gone cold. In the comments, leave a word for the pot, the one word you would want it to remember if your own kitchen fell silent. In the kitchen where this pot sits, there is no running water. There is a hand pump at the sink and a kettle that has grown a green patina of age. The window above the sink is fogged with the salt breath of the sea, and beyond it, the ocean is a sheet of dark silk under the moon. The pot can feel the tide pulling, the same tide that carried the grandmother's husband away and brought him back years later, changed and silent. The pot remembers the meal she made that night. A simple miso broth with scallions and a thin slice of fish. She did not speak. She only stirred, and the pot held her grief as it held the broth, both of them growing darker and richer with time. There are scratches on the bottom of the pot, not from metal spoons. The family uses only wood, but from the grit of the beach sand that sometimes found its way into the kitchen on the soles of bare feet. 1,000 tiny lines, like the contours of a map drawn in clay. Each scratch is a meal, a season, a moment. The pot is a diary written in patina, and no one has ever read it until tonight. The old hand cups the pot's side. The clay is cold. It has been cold for 10 years, ever since the grandmother died and the kitchen fell quiet. The pot has sat on this hearth, patiently, holding the last meal she ever cooked. It was a winter stew, rich with daikon and miso, and a secret ingredient she had learned from her own grandmother. A single dried persimmon, rehydrated and sliced thin, stirred in at the very end to add a sweetness that no one could identify. The pot still holds the faint sweetness in its seasoning, buried beneath layers of broth and thyme. If you pressed your nose to the rim, you might catch it. A ghost of sweetness, a grandmother's secret, still present. Stop. Listen, the pot has something to tell you. The old hand wraps around the pot's body. The fingers are trembling. This is the hand of the youngest daughter, returned after 40 years. She left this kitchen when she was 17, chasing a life in the city, and she has not been back since her mother's funeral. Now she is back, and the pot knows her. It remembers the day she pressed her palm against the clay to learn the temperature by feel. It remembers the day she left, the silence of the kitchen for years afterward, the gradual dimming of the hearth fire until it went out completely. The pot has been waiting for her return. The youngest daughter lifts the pot from the hearth. It is heavier than she remembers. The seasoning has built up over decades, layer upon layer, each one a memory. She brings it to the sink, and for a moment, her hand hovers over the pump. Her first instinct is to clean it, to scrub away the dark crust, to restore the clay to its original pale. This is what she learned in the city, that cleanliness is next to godliness, that old things are replaced, that a pot should shine. But the pot knew something her hands did not. It knew that the crust was not grime. It was history. She sets the pot down on the counter. She does not wash it. Instead, she fills the kettle and lights the stove. The flame catches with a soft breath, and the old pot, for the first time in 10 years, begins to feel the heat of a fire beneath it. The warmth spreads through its clay body slowly, like the slow awakening of a long slumbering memory. There's a rhythm to this process. The pot has felt it 1,000 times. The slow heating, the trembling of the first bubble, the release of steam that rises white against the dark kitchen. It is a ritual older than the daughter, older than the grandmother, older than anyone alive. The pot knows its part. It waits. It accepts the heat, the water, the ingredients. It holds them, and it gives them back transformed. The daughter understood at this moment, and so might you, that you do not wash history away. You warm it back to life. If this recognition stirs something in you, subscribe and become part of a community that sees objects as keepers of the sacred. In the comments, tell us, what object in your home holds a memory you have not been brave enough to warm back up? The water in the kettle begins to tremble. The pot on the stove is empty, waiting. The youngest daughter opens the pantry, finds a bag of rice, a block of miso, a few scallions. She does not need a recipe. She has watched her mother make this broth 100 times. The movements are in her muscles, in the memory of her hands. She rinses the rice, feels the grains slip through her fingers. She fills the pot with water from the pump, cold and mineral rich, and sets it on the stove beside the already heating kettle. The first bubbles form at the bottom of the pot. They rise slowly, like the first words of a story that has not been told in a long time. The daughter watches them, and she remembers. She remembers her mother standing at this same stove, the steam rising around her face, her hands moving with the ease of 1,000 repetitions. She remembers the smell of the kitchen on winter evenings, the warmth that filled the house, the way the pot seemed to glow from within. The pot begins to hum. It is a low, resonant tone, barely audible, felt more than heard. It is the sound of clay warming, of water meeting memory, of a lineage of hands reaching across time. The daughter rests her hand on the pot's rim, and she feels the hum in her bones. Her eyes close. The kitchen disappears. She's 5 years old again, sitting on the hearth, watching her mother stir. She's 10, learning to slice the scallions. She's 15, arguing with her mother about going to the city. She's 17, walking out the door, not looking back. A single tear falls from her cheek and lands on the pot's rim. It sizzles briefly, then vanishes into the seasoning. The pot accepts it. The tear becomes part of its memory now, another layer in the accumulating crust. The daughter does not wipe it away. She lets it be. The water begins to boil. The steam rises thicker now, carrying the scent of rice, of miso, of the sea salt that has settled into every surface of the kitchen. The daughter stands at the stove, her hand still on the pot's rim, and she stirs with the wooden ladle that has been in this kitchen for longer than she has been alive. The ladle is worn smooth by use, its surface darkened with age. It fits her hand as if it were made for her. In a way, it was. The grandmother who carved it shaped it to the grip of a hand she knew would one day return. The miso dissolves into the broth. The scallions float on the surface. The pot holds everything, and the daughter watches it, and she understands. The pot is not dirty. It is seasoned. The seasoning is the point. Every layer of crust is a story that no dishwasher cycle can erase. The pot remembers her mother's grief. It remembers her own childhood. It remembers the grandmother's secret sweetening, the thin harvests, the full harvests, the wedding feasts and the funeral meals. It remembers, and it will not forget. She lifts the pot from the stove. The broth is ready. She pours it into a bowl, the steam rising white against her face. She does not season it further. The pot has already given it everything it needs. She sits at the table where her mother sat, where her grandmother sat, where generations before them sat. The single candle flickers. The shadows stretch and contract. She brings the bowl to her lips and drinks. The broth is rich, layered, complex. It tastes of the sea, of the earth, of winter days and summer evenings. It tastes of her mother's hands. It tastes of home. The pot sits on the stove, cooling slowly. The steam continues to rise, thinner now, almost translucent. The eldest daughter sets down her bowl and looks at the pot. The pahaina has deepened in the heat, become darker and richer. The scratches are still there. The groove at the rim is still there. The faint sweetness of the persimmon, buried deep in the crust, is still there. The pot has not changed. It has only become more itself. Evidence anchors confirm what the family has known for generations. Archaeologists extracting 10,000-year-old meal traces from unwashed Jomon clay pots found lipid residues that still carried the chemical signature of wild boar and millet. The pot's memory is not a metaphor. It is chemistry. The fats bond into a non-stick surface that deepens with use. And within that surface, the remnants of meals survive as molecules. An Abemino chef in Kyoto, who has not washed his nabe in 40 years, insists the seasoning holds the soul of every broth. Lipid chemistry confirms he is right. The Japanese kazushi tradition treats seasoned cast iron as a living thing. The patina is proof of a vessel's history. Published family recipe inheritance memoirs from Nagasaki describe pots passed down for generations without ever meeting detergent. The youngest daughter finishes her bowl. She washes the bowl and the ladle, but she does not touch the pot. She leaves it on the stove, still warm, still holding the ghost of the last meal she shared with her mother. She turns off the candle. The kitchen falls into darkness. The pot glows faintly, still radiating the heat of the fire, still holding the memory of the daughter's return. In a moment, the screen will go dark, and the pot will be alone again. But before it does, let this be the moment you commit. Subscribe now so you are here when the daughter lights the fire tomorrow, when the next layer of crust is laid down, when the lineage of hands continues. In the comments, leave a single word from your own kitchen, a secret ingredient, a memory, a name that the pot of this place should carry forward